Hey everyone, this is Rock from StationSky.com, and as you can see from the title of this essay, this is something I wrote a couple of weeks back, and to the person who inspired this essay, I hope you know that I love you always, but I go deep in this one. I hit really hard, just because it's not the first time I heard, are your standards realistic? Because usually when you hear that from people, it's from, I want a man who's 6 feet tall and makes six figures.
If your wife can spend more than you make, like you need to make more money. 150, maybe to 250,000 a year.
300,000.
Anywhere from 70 to 100K.
127.
Is that realistic though? This one is for Christians, right? Mainly Christians who are striving to do what's good in God's eyes and live by the Bible standards. Meaning, if the world says, oh, you gotta have sex before marriage, and it's okay to engage in hookup culture, and you can divorce your man if you're no longer happy. But what does the Bible say? The ones who are living by the Bible standards, they need this encouragement. And when they're hit with, are your standards realistic? All right, let me jump to the paragraph that really just hammers home what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so here's what I said when I hear the question of, do you think your standards are realistic? First off, it makes my stomach churn when I hear from so-called Christians who did not wait until marriage to have sex, right? This includes a lot of people I love dearly. It makes me upset because God knows I could have had sex and I could have landed a wife and kids years ago. My Colombian paramour, who I'm constantly bringing up, was like that. If I had given into the hookup culture, this woman, who I still say is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, to this day, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I met her when I was like 24, 25. I could have had her if I had just given into hookup culture, but I denied myself and I resisted her. This was not easy. Just take a moment and appreciate what I'm saying. All you who talk about how you gave into the culture because you were afraid of losing that one girl or one guy you wanted, I actually did lose a lot of women. I did what you lack the strength and discipline to do, okay? This isn't to slight you, but to help you recognize that I'm not a simp, I'm not a beta, I'm not a have-not, nor am I a weak soy boy who doesn't have the balls to stand up and resist this wicked world. A lot of us Christians, we're supposed to be meek and humble, but you guys don't understand, it does take a lot of strength, a lot of discipline, a lot of, nah, I ain't doing it, son. What? To resist this wicked world. And we don't get credit for that. I don't need your pity. If anything, I need to have greater compassion for you. Because all you who gave into the hookup culture and want to stand there and brag about the success of your sinful behavior, your immoral behavior, you make me sick. That's the truth. It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean I don't like you. I just don't respect what you did.
When the FBI studied Malcolm and when they studied Martin, one went and spoke and came back to the hotel and prayed and talked on the phone with his wife. He was Muslim. The other one went and spoke and came back to the room and partied like a motherfucker in every town he went to. That was the Christian.
We talk a good game, but we don't act it out. Our actions aren't in alignment with what we say.
You have no right to stand there and talk about my standards when, if you remain faithful to yours, you'd probably be in the same boat as me. All right, so that's what I really wanted. That's the main point I'm going to hammer home if you click off this video right away. But that's the main thing I wanted to get across to everybody. Okay, so let's go into it. Let's get into these Christian standards when it comes to marriage, because I'm a single man I'm waiting to marriage to have sex, and I commend all my Christians who are doing the same. It's not easy in this wicked world, right? Because especially the older you get, both men and women, the older you get, each year passes by. Right now it is Christmas Eve as I record this. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I was invited to a lot of function, but I know that there are going to be families there and everyone has someone. I don't have anyone, other than God himself. I have people who care about me. I'm not saying that I don't. I'm just saying that right now in this home, it's just me, So we need encouragement. We need strength. And this is what this video is all about, to encourage and strengthen those Christians, to call out some other Christians who aren't living by Bible standards, and to educate them too. Because when you ask the question of, are your standards realistic? You just come off as tone deaf to what's really going on, okay? Okay, so this one goes out to all the Christians who are trying to live by Christ's standards and are asked this question, especially if you feel like you're the only one who's following rules and you're getting nowhere for your efforts. The question relates to what I'm looking for in a mate. The question implies that I'll never find someone because what I'm looking for is unrealistic, and thus I need to let go of my standards and get with the times. That's what it implies. When you ask, hey, do you think your standards are realistic? It sounds like an innocuous question, but it implies, there's implied meaning. If you didn't know, now you know. Even if you rephrase the question with the warning of, hey, the kind of person you're looking for is rare, right? There are still implications there. If you don't follow up with some kind of encouragement, it does suggest that you think I should be looking for something else. I was recently asked this by someone who's near and dear to my heart, inspired this essay, you know who you are, I love you to death. I'm not mad at you. I still love you. You're going to say a lot of disappointing things. You're still growing, okay? So I hope you just take this with a loving, I'm looking out for you, okay? Hence, I had no problem laying out my desire to find a loving Christian wife. I told this person about my lack of success despite my efforts. It's not like I haven't had plenty of opportunities to commit to women this year. There were a lot of ladies who I talked to and I courted this year, but none of them were worth me asking them to be my girlfriend. They weren't bad people, I just couldn't visualize a future with them. That's kind of important to me. If I can't see my future with you, I tend not to waste my time because, as I'm saying here, you know, like I've hurt people in the past, you know, by trying to do what people, oh, this person would be good for you. So then you take a chance when you know from the beginning that that person wasn't. You weren't attracted to them, but you try to make other people happy. You try to make the person happy because you're trying to be a good person, and it's just a dumb thing. Don't do it. I'm going to get into it. I either wasn't attracted to them, they were either single mothers with too much baggage, or they were too old to bear children. I want to have a family. Now, I'm not, to that end, I'm 37. As I get older, I do think that I am going to start to let go of the notion of wanting a family of my own. I will settle for just a companion. If I find someone who's beautiful, you know, we have chemistry, you know, and we see eye to eye in a lot of things, and you love me and you take care, you know, like I can deal with that and sacrifice children. I can do that, you know, but as I said, this year I haven't found those people. Well, Rock, what kind of girl are you looking for? Someone who's pretty and in shape. I could do gym thick. I'm a big guy, so yeah, I don't. Positive, upbeat, optimistic are the bare minimum. I'm also very affectionate and the mushy romantic type, so if you can match that, even better. To go deeper about the pretty, as I was hinting on earlier, allow me to point out that beauty is an eye of the beholder. What I find pretty, you might find unattractive, and vice versa. No, I'm not corrupted by Instagram models and expect to get with a 10 out of 10 model, but deep down it is important to me from the beginning to find her pretty because I tend to ask myself, can I wake up to this face for the rest of my life? Like a lot, I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to put my children through divorce. I've seen the effects of divorce, and I think a lack of being content with who the person you're with plays a part into that. No, Rock, you don't know. You're not married. You've never been married. How do you know? Just common sense, intelligence, and the fact I know myself, right? Can I wake up to that face for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, I believe it's wise to not sit there and try to trick myself into finding something attractive about her, because as time passes, I may end up hurting her feelings and doing more damage if nothing comes to bear. I know fellas will say, well, Rock, you're not responsible for her feelings, but if you're with me, I can't help but feel responsible. This is just a gentleman in us, you know, like this, oh, there's no, chivalry doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. It's just for the people who appreciate and respect it. And I'm a knight in shining armor. Oh, you're a white knight. I don't care what you call it. If you're with me, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna provide for you. And if I did something that hurt your feelings, I'm gonna take ownership of that. You know, like, so miss me with all. I'm not a modern guy. I'm old fashioned. Sorry. I speak from experience in this point. Trust me, I have taken chances on women that I did not find pretty, but I love their awesome personalities. One person comes to mind where I loved her personality. I mean, every time I was around her, I couldn't stop smiling, you know, and I knew she loved me too, but I was never attracted to her, not from the beginning. And I took a chance on her. I ended up kissing her. I was really disgusted because I wasn't attracted to her, and I hurt her feelings. You know, I'm never doing that again. So anyone holding you know what your problem is? You're too shallow. That card, you can shove it, okay? The lukewarm Christians and the single mothers are the biggest problems that I had this year, because very often they're the most attractive. Attractive, like I said, if I haven't stressed enough, is really important in the beginning. I've had some arguments with people who say, well, Rock, you know, the love manifests over time. Sure, but please understand this. Your beauty is what makes us want to stick around until that love manifests, okay? Like I had someone who argued, well, you know, sex before marriage is good because it's the bond that forms during sex. A Christian told me this, and I'm like, the Bible says that you should wait until marriage to have sex. So your argument, while it may be valid, you may speak from experience. However, you're basically saying, Rock, forget what the Bible says because this makes more logical sense when it comes to our biology. As I was saying, the lukewarm Christians and single mothers are the biggest problems because they're often the most attractive. They're still young and fertile. But sad to say, I saw a whole lot of problems with those kind of ladies because it put me in the position of King Solomon. For those who don't know, King Solomon was one of the wisest men ever. I'm going to do a video on King Solomon, so look out for that. But he was one of the wisest men who ever lived. He was rich, handsome, powerful, and in the end, it was his pagan wives, his ungodly wives, who turned him away from following God. Right? Solomon is not the only one. In the book of Numbers, Israel's enemies use idol-worshipping women to turn a whole generation of men away from the Most High God. I call him Jehovah. That's English word for Yahweh. You know, so like I take this very seriously when it comes to being, you know, I can't marry someone who's not a Christian, someone who's not striving to do what's good in God's eyes. You don't have to be on the same level as me, but if you're not on the same level and you're attracted to me, you got to be open to being led. But is that what people being taught? Is that what ladies are being taught? because very often this modern culture, man, they act like if I teach you something that you didn't know, oh, you're condescending, you're patronizing. And it's like, if you just humble yourself, recognize what I've done, recognize the kind of man I am. If you acknowledge that I am different, that I am trying to lead you to the salvation, that I'm not trying to lead you astray, that I'm not using the scriptures to try to lord over you, like if you just trust me, I can deal with you. But if you can't, if you're always fighting me every step of the way, no, this does not mean that I live like a monk or that I expect to only date virgins. I'm open to dating women who've repented from the 3 or 4 ways. The true test, however, if you haven't gathered yet, is that once you get with me, you're gonna have to wait until marriage to have sex, because I believe all sex is immoral. I have a whole list of scriptures right here. I have a link down in my description box where it says sex is immoral. Here's a link. Check out all the scriptures, all right? Now, that's up to you. If you want to say, oh, it doesn't explicitly say that sex, but it says sexual immorality is bad. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 through 11 tells us, do you not know that these will not enter the kingdom of heaven? And it lists idolaters, drunkards, adulterers. Anyone who cheats on a wife, that's an adulterer. It says the sexual immoral. All sex outside of marriage is immoral. So if you fall into that category, now I know the people contest that, and they're like, oh, well, you are saved, and God, Christ died on the cross so we can be forgiven. I mentioned that in plenty of essays and plenty of videos. There are a lot of people who live in that gray area. I don't. And if I'm going to get married to you, I got to believe that you're trying to walk the path, the narrow gate, not the broad gate that leads to destruction. Again, I don't have a problem leading you, but are you that kind of person? Anyways, let's keep going. Now that right there, the whole, oh, you're waiting to marriage to have sex? That right there, a lot of people can't handle it. A lot of our generation, millennials, I'm 37, they cannot handle it. A lot of ladies, they're turned off when it comes to that. And I've seen plenty of accounts where women, they deal with the same thing. There are a lot of men who won't deal with a virgin or someone who's waiting to marriage to have sex. So those men leave those women. The women have complained about the same thing. I would say that it's a little bit different when it comes to men and women, because between men and women, let's be honest, if a man says he's a virgin, a lot of ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, put it down in the comment section, a lot of ladies don't like that. But if a woman says she's a virgin or has very few sexual partners, that's still high value in a man's eyes. So we're not in the same, I know people want to say it's the same, it's not, okay? Women like Crystal Hazlett, here's her picture, she's such a beautiful woman. She detailed about how she grew up in the church but had sex before marriage, because she knew that if she didn't give it up to the guy she wanted, then that guy will simply move on to a woman who will.
I was raised in a strict home. I couldn't date until I was 16. I didn't lose my virginity until I was in college.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I got to college. I was that shelter little girl and she was free. Baby, I was running rampant on that campus. At what point did you realize, kind of for me, we were both raised in a society where like, what you won't do, another woman will.
And of course the Christian would have been like, all right, peace, peace to that guy. I choose God. That's what the Christian would have said. Not saying that she's not Christian for not doing that. A lot of people do fall short. We all fall short. But I haven't. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just saying in this area, I have not. When women hear how I have resisted the world and denied myself the indulgences that most people continue to engage in, despite knowing the truth, despite hearing my voice, despite everything I've just said, they'll still do it. I think they assume that I'm unattainable, right? Or at the very least, I'm not as easy as that other guy who calls himself a Christian and will put it down the first night. That easy part's important. I didn't go into detail in my essay, but a lot of ladies, I mean, come on, let's be honest. You go for what's easier. When a lot of ladies say, oh, I want a guy who's tall, but really because you're so intimidated by the guy who's tall, you think he's out of your league, it's difficult. It's a bit daunting, so you go for someone who's easier. I said, I had my theory about my video about the Brad Pitt. You put Brad Pitt and John Krasinski in the same room, even though a lot of ladies will think Brad Pitt's the hottest guy, they're intimidated by Brad Pitt. So you're gonna go for John Krasinski, and John Krasinski is gonna have better luck with these women because a lot of women don't have the ambition to actually go for Brad Pitt. I could be wrong. And of course, there are Christians who commend me with compliments with the hint of, oh, that's so great that you're a virgin. That's really special. I couldn't do it, but it's good for you. All right. Even with my ex-girlfriend, right? This is back in 2017. She was Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witnesses, they're notorious for being a very strict religion. I grew up with these people, and back then, like, you couldn't call or go over to someone else's house unless they were Jehovah's Witness too, and they used the logic of bad association creates unuseful habits. That was their logic. So we kind of lived in a bubble when I was growing up. Either way, in 2017, my ex-girlfriend was a Jehovah's Witness, and she claimed that I was intimidating because she said I was more of a Jehovah's Witness than most of the Jehovah's Witnesses that she dealt with, right? And what she meant by that was both flattering and kind of sad. In so many words, she was saying in this infamously strict religion where they don't even celebrate birthdays or holidays, I was more holy and walked the walk than they did. Now, deep down, when people ask me, do you think your standards are realistic? It really does make me unbearably sad. I don't think I'm alone when we hear that, right? At the risk of embarrassing myself, I mean, it really does make me want to run to God and just fall to his feet, clinging to his robes and just asking him, please, take me away from this wicked place. No one else is playing by the rules. It's just me. I'll always be alone. That's kind of that first sensation that you feel, unless you're prepared for it and you have your strength and your guard up. But yeah, man, it's tough, especially when you hear from someone that's really close to you and known you for a long time. Of course, it's not just me who feels this way. There are millions like me scattered about, and I cling to God because the Bible is full of encouraging men and women who have gone through the same thing, and they were rewarded with God's love and blessings. Elijah is the biggest one that comes to mind. You know, if you don't know, like there was a point in time where he just did this explosive demonstration of God's power at Mount Carmel in front of the whole nation, and then still, you know, Jezebel and Ahab was still gunning for him and wanting to take his life, and Elijah just had enough. If you read 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 3 through 4, he talks about how, man, just take me, God. I can't with this world. I just can't. I can't. You know, and I know that feeling, man. I'll never do myself in, so don't worry about me. But man, it just sucks. You know, like everyone else, like if you feel like you're the only one playing by the rules, okay? The person who asked that of me, the question of, do you think your standards are realistic? She didn't ask to be malicious, all right? She does genuinely love and care about me, but she clearly doesn't know enough about the Bible or God to understand exactly that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. The people who do understand, they usually respond as a source of strength and encouragement. They would tell me that I'm rare and it's a beautiful thing to have such strength and discipline. They would commend me for resisting this world and encourage me to keep placing my faith in God. The people who do understand, they understand what's going on in this world. They say things like, it's sad and unfortunate this world has fallen so far. Your generation has it so bad with all the wicked influence permeating in culture, but God sees you. He sees what you're going through, and he loves that you're choosing him over the world. As long as you endure to the end, whether you get married or not, you will be rewarded. That's at Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added unto you. That is the biggest source of encouragement for all of my Christians. If you're single, if you're a virgin, if you have never been married, if you never even know what it feels like to be loved by another person who wasn't your family member, keep your head up, right? As long as you endure to the end, being a source of love and encouragement to others, right? You will be rewarded. Okay, so just keep your head up. Boom. I'm not saying every response has to be like that, but such responses do demonstrate that the person I'm talking to, they understand. They understand what the world we're living in, and they understand God's word, the Bible. I think almost every person who's asked me, Rock, do you think your standards are realistic? They either had no clue about today's dating culture and how far it's fallen. I mean, dang, man, don't even get me started. I have plenty of videos. Check out my YouTube channel. They don't know God, or they don't know what the Bible says on how we should live. All right. Or they're the kind of Christians who believe in bending the rules a little bit, thinking that God will understand, oh, what we did, what we had to do. Like there are a lot of Christians who love that gray area. Oh, you know, God will understand us. It's the times. We had to get with the times. Knowing this about those kind of people, it does help me to understand that, you know, all right, you can't get too offended. I mean, you don't want to say that they're just ignorant, but they just don't know. No, you know, like recently one of my relatives called me ignorant on several different topics, you know, and I accepted it. There are a lot of things that I am ignorant to. When people say things like, oh, you know what, are your standards realistic? They are ignorant. They don't know. That's all that means. It's not an insult like you're an idiot, but you just don't know. Hopefully you keep watching because I'm going to explain. So when I hear people tell me things like this, I do understand them. I understand why they think the way they do. But it just kills me that those same people lack the comprehension skills to understand me, okay? Seriously, I had one dude tell me, this is a coworker, say, Rock, me and several coworkers, we were under the impression that the reason why you're still single is because no woman wants you. That person was an atheist, a left-leaning millennial of average height and average hobbies who fits right in today's culture. He has no idea what it's like to be a 6'3", 230-pound Christian black man who doesn't fit in with any black stereotype and lives in South Florida because the culture is different. If I was in Texas, I would have better success. South Florida is a bit tougher for the dating market, okay? And of all the reasons why this guy could have landed as to why I'm still single, it never even crossed his mind that maybe Rock has had ladies come after him, and it's Rock who didn't want those ladies. Nah, that couldn't be it. What I found is that most of my left-leaning ungodly peers, and not just ungodly peers, but just millennials in general, like we're just a different breed where people, I think the whole equality just messed us up. Everyone, oh, we're all equals. No, we're not. I'm different from you. I'm 6'3". If you're 6 foot and shorter, we don't have the same height. We're not equal heights. If I work out and hit the bags and and you don't, all you do is eat all day and you don't work at all, then I'm more healthier than you. We are not equals. Okay, I think my millennial generation, they're so inundated with this idea that we're all the same, no one's better or worse, and that's nonsense, okay? Even in the Bible, there are people who are favored more than others. Mary was favored. David was favored. You think I'm looking at David and be like, oh, I'm equal to King David? Come on, man. So I found that most of my peers, they rather assume the worst than believe anything that portrays a contemporary, someone who's the same age, whatever, in a positive or superior light. For instance, it could be that Rock is just so tall, strong, and handsome that a lot of ladies are scared to talk to him because A, they assume that they don't stand a chance because most men who look like him go for hot women, even though historically I admire the girl next door types and I date all races. Or B, the existence of a man like me goes against the notion that men are the prize and not women. Because right now, I think that the husband of Simone Biles is going viral right now because he said that Simone Biles came after him. Like, he didn't even know who Simone Biles was. I knew who Simone Biles was, but people are like, what? No, you're the lucky one because you got Simone. I was like, dude, give me a break, man. Like, everyone's different. And more importantly, when you get married, instead of thinking so-and-so is a prize, I think you're both lucky to have each other.
He might, because the other day I said, you know what, in a couple years, nobody is going to call him Simone Biles' husband. They'll call me Jonathan Owens' wife.
Everything that I see here was that this is a man of self-respect. And to me, there is nothing more that the world cannot stand most than a man who respects himself and has self-worth and honors himself. A man that will not bend or break or fold or diminish himself. People cannot stand that. They want to break you down and humble you. Okay, calm down. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, everything that you think you are, you're really not. It can't be just you. You can't be the magic. You can't be the prize. You can't be the catch. You can't be all of that. The only person that is capable of doing those things is the woman. You're just benefiting.
Nah, it couldn't be that. It could be that Rock's handsome and, like he's a prize. Nah, it could be that. Who does Rock think he is? He's not better than the rest of us. We're all equals. And the same as the cultures preach. All right? We need to knock his ego down a notch and say something like he's too full of himself. He's arrogant. No one wants him because he talks too much. He's judgmental. He thinks he's better than everyone else. All right? He thinks he's handsome. Nah, he's really ugly with his big camel nose and the big bulgy plug eyes, which may be true. I could be, I'm not sure how handsome I am. I've been told either way. But Rock, if you're so handsome and strong, then why aren't you like the hundreds of other Chads and Tyrones who have ladies just throwing themselves at them? Well, how many of those Chads and Tyrones are living by Christ standards, right? Because very often those ladies throw themselves while those Chads and Tyrones are in immoral places to begin with, like at the bar, the club, like they're getting tipsy, they're getting drunk. Boom. Do you expect to find a Christian man who's living by Christ standards in places like that? That's one thing. And how many of those Chads and Tyrones believe in waiting to marriage to have sex? Okay, everybody's different. Now, there are maybe some Chads and Tyrones who are lucky and fortunate to have found their wife in those places. Those people are fortunate and blessed. And others, as I'm going to explain, they may be just being used by God. Okay, I'm going to talk about it. How about you just give me the benefit of doubt that I maybe know what I'm talking about? All right. Can your ego and your self-esteem allow you to believe that I am not being arrogant? I have a video down below for that this isn't hubris, right? I don't know what it's like to be you. I'm trying to explain what it's like to be me. And even if you explain that, oh, you know what? Every time I go, the same thing, the family member told me, Rock, because I told her when I go into malls or big public places where there's big social gathering, I could tell people looking at me. People are staring at me. She's like, Rock, don't you think that's on your head? She has no idea what it's like to be a 6'3" big black guy who looks like me. She has no idea. So when I tell her, she doubts. If you told me what it's like to be you, doubt would not be the first thing that crossed my mind. I would be like, wow, dang, I never thought about that. Everyone's different, I guess, is our generation, okay? Now then, allow me to try to explain why the question of, do you think your standards realistic are so bothersome? Now, I've already explained how it makes me feel when Christians ask that question. I don't want to rehash that. And I do think that, compassion is needed on my end because I do kind of look down on people. Like sad to say, right? I'm just going to say this because it'll help you understand a little bit more. Last year, my cousin died, and it was one of the most painful experiences of my life. Now, has been talking to me about how he's been living immorally with his now wife for a long time. Like he divulges this stuff to me. But it was tough because this day of the funeral, like we're in the hotel room and he's just talking about it. He's bragging about his immoral, sinful lifestyle. I had to tell him, I love that you're sharing these things with me. I want to be a part of your happiness. But right now, I was destroyed from that funeral and everything that happened, so it was just tough. And when it came time for his wedding, it was tough for me to go to it because I'm like, dude, I don't respect what you did. You lived your life immorally. I want to get married, but I'm resisting temptation. I'm choosing to do what's good in God's eyes. So it's difficult for me to sit there and smile and be like, yeah, congratulations, because you're benefiting from the success of your immoral behavior. I need to have better compassion on that. People might look at me, oh, you're just hating. Sure, maybe that's true. Maybe there is jealousy there. Maybe there is a jealousy in that, it's not fair that, these guys are having sex outside of wedlock and they're getting all the, maybe there is jealousy. Part of me feels that I pray that my wants and desires is aligned with God's. Okay, so if I feel jealousy, and I do think there were traces throughout the whole year that I did, that's my problem. I need to work on that. Okay, I need to have better compassion for those who did cave in, who don't have my strength and discipline. I need to have compassion for that. And I need to forgive and let go of people who did, have sex before marriage. That's not easy. That's not easy when you're still struggling and you're still suffering. Okay. Honestly, it is the most infuriating thing. It's like if you and your peers take off in a marathon race, they cheat and take a shortcut, making it to the finish line before you, and then they want to call you up while you're still running the race, and they say, hey, do you really think you got what it takes to run this marathon? I'm like, you cheated. You bastards cheated, all right? I don't want to hear a damn thing from any of you. All you Christians who want to stand on, oh, I didn't know, or I was young, or I gave up my virginity before I became saved, and no, spare me, all right? Just spare me. I've heard it all. I've heard every excuse in the book. I understand them. I acknowledge I need to work on my compassion, but just stand aside as I continue this marathon of life, all right? Can't stop, won't stop. I do the Harlem Shake whenever I say that. When I do these essays and I do these videos, these declarations also strengthen me because I stand by my word. When you say, are your standards realistic? Do you know that they ask the same thing of narcissists, entitled people, and delusional? This is a problem when it's asked of Christians striving to live by Bible standards because it prompts us to question our faith, as in, is my Christianity holding me back from getting what I want? As I already mentioned in my AI video where the CNN contributor named Liberty Vitter she suggested that, men need to adapt to the times. And I'm like, no, the times goes against how God calls us to live. The times right now, what's acceptable and cool goes against how God calls us to live. So no, I'm not going to adapt. Then you're just going to be left behind. Then I get left behind. If more of my generation were living by the Bible standards, my standards would not be unrealistic, okay? My standards would not be seen as, oh, those are high standards. But when you're the only one playing by the rules, it's like if you're going on the freeway, going the speed limit where everyone else is speeding, right? Of course they're going to call you slow. They're not following the rules, you are. Lastly, I do want to address the Christians who are extremely blessed to follow the rules and they got married after having waited to marriage to have sex, because those Christians do exist, right? There are a lot of Christians out there, because this is kind of, it kind of stings a little too. Oh, these guys waited till marriage to have sex, but they got together. What's wrong with you? What I'm gonna say is gonna sound like the cop-out of all cop-outs. It's gonna sound like I lack accountability and I'm blaming everyone but myself. To which I say it is on the individual to be completely honest with yourself when it comes to the question of, are you really doing what it takes to find what you're looking for, right? Because a lot of ladies, I did an essay about the top 3 things that caused me to lose interest in women who call themselves Christians. One of those things were, I'm sorry ladies, but you don't take care of your beauty. Like a lot of ladies who call themselves Christians, they are very overweight and that's not appealing to a lot of guys, right? So the question of, are you doing what it takes to find what you're looking for? Are you appealing? Do you keep yourself appealing? Do you work out? Those are important questions you gotta ask yourself. Barack, what about you? Are you doing everything? I used to weigh 378 pounds, right? So I say that I'm not above reproach, right? It's not like I had a lot of people, they see me and they just see, wow, he's had everything, like he's so lucky. No, I busted my butt to get where I am, right? I used to weigh 378 pounds, got down to 240, kept it off. I still box, I still hit the gym. I own my own home. I own my own vehicle. I have all my student loan debt paid off. I'm 37, right? It took years to do all that. And there were years of just working paycheck to paycheck, right? So it wasn't easy. You could do it too. It just takes work and effort, okay? And it's by the grace of God that I was able to accomplish all this. I only say that so you don't think that I'm just bashing women and saying, oh, you're basically saying, because you work for what you want, right? And this year, I can say that I have. Rock, are you doing what it takes to find what you're looking for? Yeah, especially this year. Because one of the criticisms I often got when it comes to, oh, if you're looking for a Christian wife, then you need to go to a Christian church. There's logic into that. But it's like, what Christian church do I join? There's different denominations. Which one do I agree with? I don't want to come in looking like a vulture, like a hawk on a perch, just scanning the audience, looking for pickings, so I need to find a church that I agree with the message. I did find one. By the grace of God, I did. I like those people, and here's what I did, okay? I joined a church group. I've gone to social events. I've gone to dinners. I've gone to a Christian single mixer, so I put myself out there plenty of times this year, and I haven't found a single viable option for marriage because of reasons I've explained. And throughout this year, as I've attended these functions and I've gone to meeting and church groups and I put myself out there, put myself in people, put myself in congregations where I expect to find somebody, anybody, I'm asking myself, and I say that with a grain of salt because if you're watching this video and you're single, but what I find pretty, other people might find unattractive and vice versa, right? So just because you're not pretty to me doesn't mean you're not pretty. I just want to point that out there. I say that softly because you never know who's watching my videos. It could be people I work with, people I went to church with, all right? So I don't want those ladies who saw me in those singles mixers thinking to themselves, what? I'm ugly? No, you're just not appealing to me. Okay, I hope you find someone. And that's the thing too, ladies and gentlemen. Every time I come back from those mixers and I see opportunities, I do pray that God blesses those people with somebody. I want everyone to have someone. So throughout this year, I did ask myself as I attended those functions, what are the odds that no matter what I do, God hasn't placed a pretty, single, young, and fertile woman in my path? Now, what's the point of this? Why am I pointing this out? Well, I've come to believe that God has a plan for me. It's not just coincidence that all of these things are happening, all right? There are people in my shoes who are blessed to have found someone. The fact that I have not, despite my best efforts, leads me to believe that for the moment at least, God wants me to be single. Again, I know that's a cop-out, but it's what I believe. He could be working in my heart and soul, refining my character to be a good husband for the kind of woman I say I want. He could be teaching me these lessons so I could better understand and help others. I doubt I'd be writing this essay or recording this video seeking to strengthen and encourage others if I was no longer in a dating market. There are a lot of people who don't care one iota about single people because they already got theirs, right? That could be me. If I had gotten married at 25 to my Colombian paramour, I doubt if I'd ever produced so many essays, read the entire Bible twice, or put my focus on seeking the kingdom of heaven over things like, because 1 Corinthians chapter 7 talks about this, right? Those who are married, they have a lot of pressure. My older brother, who's a good Christian, he struggles with this. He's married, he has a child, so he struggles because he's dealing with a lot of anxiety trying to keep his family afloat, okay? I don't have those struggles. So what does Rock do with his singleness and his bachelorhood? He strives to do what's good in God's eyes and preach the gospel to the best of his abilities. I don't go to door like witnesses because I know myself, and me knocking on someone's door for them getting an attitude can land me in some trouble. I know my temper. But I write, I do video essays. So this is how I preach. This is how I minister. I'm reminded of the book of Job, where he was covered in boils and he lost his children, his wealth, and his property. Job had 3 incredibly persuasive friends approach and try to convince him that the reason for his misfortune is because of something he did. It was some sin that he committed that he needs to confess and repent to. The truth is, Job didn't commit any sin to justify all that misfortune, okay? There's nothing that he did to justify that. Despite all those persuasive arguments, if you read the book of Job, it's brutal. Like, those friends were extremely persuasive. I can't imagine what that was doing to his conscience every day that they were hammering. This is your fault, Job, this is your fault. It wasn't like that, okay? Likewise, when you know you've done your best to try and find someone and you just haven't found someone yet, and when people come to you, they'll blame you, claiming you're not doing enough or your standards are too high, right? And that's why you're single. Dude, just trust in God. All right, understand that those friends might mean well, like the person who inspired this video, she might mean well, but just like Job, it's gonna probably do more harm than good. God used Job's pain and suffering to provide a powerful lesson that's been handed down through thousands of years. Millions and millions, billions maybe, benefited from Job's pain and suffering. I like to think that God's using me the same way to provide some powerful lessons to a generation who's struggling to carry the cross and follow Christ, okay? I'm here to tell you to keep your head up, all right? There's still life in the old boy yet. When people ask you if your standards are unrealistic, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna prick at your heart, make you think like the only one holding you back is you, okay? Right now, you're reading, you're watching, you're listening to the words of a rebel. I'm defiant. That's one of my qualities, all right? And believe it or not, this world is full of rebels. There are those who rebel against God's word to be their own gods and decide for themselves what's right and wrong. And then there are those of us who rebel against the world with clenched fists and the fires of temptation sears at our flesh and tears at our hearts. But that's all right. We can take it. I can take it. You're not alone, my friends. You're not alone, brothers and sisters, all right? We glory in our sufferings, right? Because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, which has been given to us, okay? That's at Romans chapter 5, verse 3-5. I love that scripture. All you guys who are suffering in the name of Christ, who are trying to do what's good in God's eyes, and you just, oh man, everyone else is winning. I'm alone. It's Christmas. You know, like your suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces a stronger character. That character produces hope. Okay? Don't let go of that. You know, if it's too tough for you, you got to separate yourself from the people who are bringing you down. Okay? Take solace in Ephesians chapter 6 when you hear such questions and you arm yourself with truth, righteousness, peace, faith, spirit, and salvation. Be strong. You got this. That's inspired by Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, right? That's the essay. That's the video. I hope I was able to hammer these points home. Again, I apologize if I offended anyone with the whole, that's not my intent. Everyone's different. And to the person who inspired this essay, you know who you are. I hope you don't think that I hate you or, I gotta watch what I say around him. No, don't do that. Don't do that. All right, I love you.